A gorgeous, verdant Sonoma Raceway in Northern California wine country has rolled out the welcome mat for Pirelli GT4 America, race number 1 of a brand new 2023 season. Hello, my name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is in the pit lane for us for another year of GT4 action in Pirelli GT4 America. Perhaps the strongest grid in the series history has assembled here in Northern California wine country. 40 cars strong, Calvin, and it's hard to pick a favorite from any of the three classes, Silver, Pro-Am, and Am. Great teams, great drivers all across the board. Can't wait to get going.
It's going to be a dogfight, absolutely. Just so many unknowns as well, just like we finished up with Fanatec GT. So many new combinations to look forward to, and some great qualifying runs here this morning. As you can see, Conquest Racing putting their car on the pole, picking up where they left off, where they finished second in the championship.
But with a new driver
Yes.
alongside Mackay Stevens and Jesse Webb. Here we see in the third row Tyler Baxton and Chris Walsh. Kevin Bohm making the step up from the touring car ranks. His first ever GT4 race is about to happen. Ross Schwest, a GT4 champion in GT America, starts alongside. Charlie Poston's the reigning champion in Am. He's back to defend the crown. Kurt Swearingen next to him. Kevin Conway and Rob Ferriel making his debut in the championship in the next row. Starting 13th for Heart of Racing, Hannah Grisham, an all-female driver lineup. More to say about that throughout the show. 15th and 16th, Custodio Toledo and Elias Sabo returning with Flying Lizard Motorsports. Isabella Robusto driving solo this weekend. Her intended co-driver had an injury a non-racing related injury, it should be said, in the build-up to this, so we'll see how she fares. She's already been on track in Toyota GR Cup. A little further back, Johan Schwartz for Rooster Hall Racing. That should be a lineup to watch. Gray Newell and Tim Pappas. First time we've seen Tim Pappas in a while, and the first time for the McLaren Artura GT4. More on that later. Peter Atwater and Michael Oriema, Eric Powell stepping out of the touring car ranks and into Pirelli GT4 America with Tech Sports Nissan-backed program at Halcombe. In that last row, Kyle Washington and Christian Ruppel is there. Rob Walker and Matt Forbush starting 33rd and 34th. Paul Sparta for Randa Vandals and Roland Crines, Robert Mao and Nelson Kaye, 37th and 38th. Alan Stad from Rotec Racing and Nick Shanny, who raced in GT America earlier today. Finally, Anderson Tenoto and John Branham at the back of this field, with the exception, of course, of Tyler Stone, who does start at the very back in one of those Tech Sport Nissans, a development program for Nissan, and it's the North American debut for that brand new GT4 car from the Japanese manufacturer. So that's a Cliff Notes version, on my end at least, of this starting field. It's a great field, great mix of machinery, some new cars, some old cars, everything in between. Can't wait, we're about to go.
Yeah, let's get this season started, and big field here. There's bound to be some argy-bargy. Hopefully we can keep it clean here. Tough racetrack, low grip, late in the day, everyone's up on the wheel, ready to go.
Very similar format to the GT4 European Series, if you're used to that. It's two drivers sharing a car, 60-minute race. There's a pit stop window right smack dab in the middle of the race where you do a driver change, and that is it. No tire changes in Pirelli GT4 America. Jesse Webb on debut, qualifies on pole. The returnee, Matt Travis, who won a championship the last time he contested a full season in Pirelli GT4 America. He's in the Cayman on the left-hand side of the screen on the front row. We are green at Sonoma Raceway.
Clean start so far up the hill, 3 wide there in the middle of the pack. Everyone just try to keep it clean.
Oh, someone's around. It's one of the Heart of Racing Astons. We've got a car off track. That might be Todd Coleman. Everyone is backed up here. Local yellow for now. It looks like everyone's going to be able to drive away from the incident. Confirmation from race control. All of the cars involved have been able to continue on, but a difficult start to the race weekend for a couple of the competitors.
Yeah, I think that's Hannah Grisham, unfortunately, on their debut with, as you mentioned, the all-female entry for Heart of Racing. So it's a very exciting program, but not the start they were looking for. But up front is Conquest Racing. This is the team that gave RS1 the hardest time last year, finishing runner-up in the championship. But they've come back, new driver lineup in terms of the pairing. Mackay Stevens is still part of that group, but new driver on the group, another Canadian. So they're looking to come back one step further up the ladder in terms of winning a championship.
Love this shot, watching these GT4 cars snake their way through the S's. It's Webb leading Travis first and second. Francis Seldorf might be the cork in the bottle, though. He runs third overall, and everyone is bottled up behind him. That's him in the red-topped, primarily red, I should say, Cayman, coming right at us, right behind those new BMW M4 GT4s. Love the look of the new BMW GT4 offering.
Yeah, really good car. Talking to a number of the BMW drivers here this weekend, they said the handling is absolutely superb, particularly through this first couple of sectors. Struggles a little bit in the horsepower compared to a couple of the other manufacturers, but nonetheless, pretty potent machine here at Sonoma Raceway.
And a potent lineup in the one in question. Fourth in the running order as they stand. Zach Anderson starting this car. John Capestro Dubets, an absolute ace in a GT4 BMW. He'll be taking over when they do the swap. Zach Anderson, a champion in the AM class in Pirelli GT4 America a few seasons ago. Probably the best chance he's had, though, to run at the very pointy end is this one right here, and he's been waiting a long time for a shot like this.
Yeah, he's super talented, so it's great to see. And this team has really come a long ways as well. They're really good, tight-knit organization, beautifully prepared race cars, and they're loving life with this new M4 platform.
Autotechnic, the team, looks like starting to get a bit comfortable behind the wheel. Settling into that rhythm is young Zach Anderson. I say young, I thought he was a lot younger than he is. I found out earlier this weekend he's like 37. I would have guessed about 27. Anyway, a lot of damage there.
Yeah. 999 machine. Parker Thompson listed as the starting driver in that one, so major damage there.
Or might it have been the number 999 of Daniel Hanley? I'm not clear on that. But a casualty here is the 32 GMG racing car. I think Kyle Washington was tabbed to start that car. We have another car in the pit lane, so several casualties early in the going. That was Matt Forbush, by the way, and a new effort from the Skip Barber Racing School team. Their first foray into GT4 racing, and it has not gone the way they envisioned.
Conquest Racing from NOLA Sport to the predominantly strong GT4 entrance over the last few years, leading the way here in the opening laps of our 2023 GT4 season. Not to be unexpected, I guess.
This car, Matt Travis, this is the leader in Pro-Am, by the way, running in a sea of silver class entries. In the top 7, there are 6 silver class cars right now as we go safety car for the first time in 2023. The lone car not in the silver class in the top 7 is Matt Travis, who returns to the championship alongside longtime teammate Jason Hart. These two paired to win the title in Pro-Am in 2021 after coming painfully close in each of the past 2 years, and they love it when I remind them of that.
Yeah, that was, they had a couple of heartbreakers there in terms of dominant seasons and then losing it right at the finish of the year. So great to see them back. Travis pulled a bit of a Nico Rosberg in terms of winning a championship and then disappearing on us, but he's back.
And he's happy to be back. A replay of the initial start. Great job by Jesse Lee in the Conquest Racing car. A guy who comes from some, I guess you'd call it kind of showroom stock type racing in Canada. Oh, there's a spin at the top of the hill.
Yeah, that's the harder racing machine involved.
Yep.
So
Nowhere
it's clean
to go.
initially, then just middle of the park. And such a deep field, you're going to get that big compression, literally run over each other.
This might be why we have the intervention, possibly, is for this stranded car. Quickly back to Jesse Webb. Mentioned the background in sedan racing, you might call it. Certainly modified street cars turned into race cars, and then went short track racing, did some stock car racing. Primarily ovals, a little road racing in that. This, he told me, was the first true race car he has ever been in. And he said, I asked him, has anything that you've done prepared you for this? He said, no, nope, nothing. Nothing at all feels like this, but he loves it. He loves the feel of the GT4 Mercedes AMG.
That team likes to have a Canadian driver, and Ian Willis, who's a long time and recognized engineer, as a part of their operation. So he's on the lookout throughout the course of a 12-month period and put down that name, and they tested him and he went well and he got the job.
This is the third year of this program, so Conquest Racing runs the team, but you'll see JMF on it a lot, and that is for John Farrow, a Canadian businessman, racing enthusiast. And many times you'll see these racing enthusiasts want to jump in the car themselves, but he took a different approach, and I commend him for it. He wanted to give young drivers who showed talent but didn't have the funding or opportunity a chance, and he's done some shootouts over the past few years, identified some really top drivers, and Jesse Webb is one of the next in line in that great pipeline that John Farrow has identified over the years. Just about 7 minutes into this race, already some casualties. Amanda, what can you tell us about those that might have been caught out in the trouble already?
That is very unfortunate to report, especially to kick off race 1 here in Sonoma. And you can see behind me, Todd Coleman down there still has his helmet off, talking to his team. It is a broken suspension. They will take that Aston Martin out of the car. I talked to Billy Johnson for a little bit, kind of head hung, but said we'll see you guys tomorrow. And then also on the 37, that Skip Barber car of Matt Forbush and Carter Fartuck, I was able to catch up with Carter just quickly, and he said that they just needed to replace a right rear tire puncture and then some body panels, a little damage, but otherwise feels that the car is okay, and we'll assess that as we continue racing here.
Appreciate the update. Tough start to the weekend for several of these teams, and in so many ways it's wonderful to have 43 cars starting these races, but like you said before the green fell, you know there's going to be some contact, especially in GT4 racing. These cars are wonderful because, yes, they make some speed with aerodynamics, but they're not super aero-dependent. They run great in big groups together. Leads to close racing.
It does.
And it can be too close from time to time.
It can. In this racetrack, the car's sliding around a lot. There's a few bumps, so you're suddenly right on each other's door, and you'll just get turned very, very quickly. So a little bit of a reset here, but the racing's good. Certainly the team up front there, Conquest Racing, didn't want to lose that early lead that they have, so they want to build on it. And they'd like a green flag run because they've got 2 very quick drivers, and they just want everything to run by the book. They don't need any wrinkles or any curveballs here today.
That's right. Behind the Toyota GR Supra safety car, Toyota the official vehicle of SRO America, and a Toyota Highlander is the medical car throughout the course of this season. And I'll tell you what, you can't miss the Toyota presence here this weekend, and that is going to be the case all season long. Their GT4 car continues to sell and run at the front, but now the new Toyota GR Cup, which debuted earlier this afternoon, which provides a great entry point for folks looking at a career in sports car racing. Huge grid over there too, and just a massive amount of Toyota involvement in the Sonoma paddock.
Yeah, the cars look really cool. Massive field there for the GR Cup. A lot of young talent. I mean, names we're going to be talking about in decades to come. So it's a great training ground, and great to see Toyota supporting sports car racing like they do.
Right there, that green and black car that just came through the shot, that was the first glimpse I've actually had of the new McLaren Artura GT4 not stationary. Really cool car. Replaces the 570S that has run for so many years. I think that debuted in 2017. And the game is continuing to raise in the GT4 ranks. These manufacturers keep bringing better and better cars to the table. And yes, there's BOP, but there is something to be said about having the latest and greatest, and McLaren has answered the bell.
They have. I mean, that Artura runs as a hybrid in its street car form, so they take the hybrid off, obviously, for racing. But spoke to Tim Pappas. The decision to go racing with that car came very late, about 3 weeks ago. I believe there was an intention to run with a different manufacturer. There were some issues there, and he was scrambling a bit, but he said, boy, this is a real race car. He and Jeroen Bleekemolen have high expectations for this championship season, and they have so much experience running together, great chemistry there. Jerome, as we know, is one of the top sports car drivers on the global stage, so he and Tim always seem to click very well and get results.
Right now, Meyer back in 21st, but still 48 minutes to go as the field enters the VP Racing acceleration zone. And just as he did at the initial green, it will be Jesse Webb to dictate the pace on the restart. There's the green flag. Jesse Webb and Conquest leading the way at Sonoma. Just behind, though, Matt Travis runs in the second spot. That's also, though, the leader in the Pro-Am class.
See if they can file through turn 2 here successfully this time around. Single file restart should make it a little bit more palatable for everyone to coexist. Nice start there by the Conquest machine. 51 car there is Zach Anderson, very much in the mix, starting to put the pressure there on, I believe it's Seldorf behind the wheel of the 19.
That's right. Mercedes leads, Porsche second and third, then you find the BMW, then you find a Supra, another BMW. Just a great mix at the front. And throughout this field, GT4 continues to boom globally. There's a look up the inside. This is Chris Walsh in the OGH Valkyrie Velocity car, doing a great job carving up the inside of Tyler Maxson, touring car stud, but stepping into the GT4 ranks here this year, dropping back a spot. I think that's who he got by, but in any event, great job by Chris Walsh to make that pass, and now the troubles continue to mount for the 74. That's the Copeland Motorsports Supra.
Kevin Bohm there having a great run here, our TC champion for the past couple of seasons in the 92, sharing that car with Kenton Cook, so he's making some moves early with the Random Vandals Racing BMW GT4. Postings, I believe we were looking at there aboard the 36 Bimmerworld machine, coming off a fantastic championship season, he and James. He told me in the off-season, no, I'm not coming back, and so this week he said, I couldn't resist. Just having too much fun.
Oh, why not? They had a phenomenal season in the AM class 1 year ago. Taking a peek in at Kevin Conway in the number 68 Smooch Racing Supra here. Kevin running right behind Kurt Swearingen. ACI Motorsports, new to probably GT4 America, not new to running Porsche equipment, however. And Swearingen is not just a driver, but also looks after this team that's based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Conway and Jesbray, our AM champions from a couple of years ago. Great pairing. Finished third last year in silver. And had one win on their way. So been super successful. Just great to see the experience of Conway bringing up a young talent like John Jesbray.
Difference this year is they are listed in the Pro-Am class. They ran silver, like you said, last year. So that is a change from 1 year ago. And with Kevin starting, I guess he must be technically the...
He is. He's bronze now, so
yeah.
Perform some magic.
That is former NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year, by the way. Kevin Conway has carved out a nice niche for himself in sports car racing. He and young John Jesbray were so strong in their first season running in the AM class. Had some decent results last year. Have their work cut out for them, though, in Pro-Am. It is a stout Pro-Am field in 2023. Also stout, how about this performance from Jesse Webb? The lead is nearly 2 seconds already over Matt Travis, who runs second overall, but continues to lead in Pro-Am.
Yeah, super impressive. If he can rock up and put in this sort of performance. I thought it was Mackay Stevens starting this race, so really surprised that it's Jesse who's behind the wheel and pulling a gap on this field right now. Having said that, I don't know much about him, so maybe that's what everyone expected, having tested him and given him the ride.
Well, certainly he earned it. That's the way that program works, based on pace at a shootout. But a shootout is one thing, racing something completely different. But he looks right at home, at least at this stage. Side-by-side racing down the hill in turn number 4.
Toledo, I think, aboard the second of the 2 Conquest Racing entries. See how this one sets up. It's a little bit wide there. The 67 car gets underneath him. It's a little bit like,
that's Pappas around. And that will almost certainly bring out a full course yellow.
Fluid out the back end of that
Yes.
McLaren.
It's the other car involved.
The wheel off on one of the cars.
Yikes. Didn't catch the number on the Aston that was involved in that. Still learning all the new liveries, it must be said, in 2023. Two good cars seemingly eliminated in this move, and yikes.
Yeah, that was a bit of a late move there.
That it was.
The trouble is, the door opens there, but as soon as you crest the hill, you got no front end to turn with.
Okay, I think that would have been Gray Newell that got into Pappas, and I think this is the Vanderster Racing Aston of Brady Behrman that appears to be the innocent bystander that has been eliminated with 43 minutes to go. Full course yellow for the second time in this season opening race here at Sonoma Raceway. Before that, we saw a great move by Isabella Robusto to gain a position. That was the 67 Supra running in the AM class, but she's a Toyota development driver.
You said she's doing solo, right? So there's certainly some things she has to jump through some hoops when it comes, literally, I think.
Yeah.
Balance on one foot and 3 pirouettes and get back in or something, correct?
That's right. So the way that works, she was supposed to be driving with Joey De Silva. Joey hurt his hand a couple weeks back and ultimately was hoping to be able to run this weekend, couldn't pull the trigger on it, just wasn't quite ready. So Isabella, because she's driving by herself, has to, during the pit stop, get out of the car, go to the cold side of the pit wall, put one foot down, jump through a hoop. No, she doesn't have to jump through a hula hoop, but might as well. Then back over the wall again, into the car, get suited up, and it is also an additional 3 seconds that must be spent in the pit lane due to the fact that she is running on her own to negate any track knowledge advantage that she might have built up. So that could be an interesting watch if we happen to have a camera around her during that pit stop window. Here's a look at Tim Pappas, Black Swan Racing, and Tim, I'm sure, dejected climbing out of that new, but that said, second-hand looking McLaren Artura after the incident in turn 4 on the last lap.
Yeah, some kind of cooler got split. There's immediate fluid pouring out the tail end of that. So disappointing start to their campaign. And they're not going to get points here today, even though the field's so deep. If you didn't finish, you wouldn't get points anyway. Depth of some of these classes. But pit lane should open in about 6 minutes. So they will not do that if we're still under caution, as Tim now debriefs with the team. There's Jeroen Bleekemolen in the backdrop. A lot of McLaren support here this weekend.
A lot of people anxious to see what this new car looks like, how it races. It is, by all accounts, a big step up from the 570S that preceded it. That was probably among the closest to their road-going counterparts of any of the GT4 cars. And part of that is simply the performance that's built into a McLaren right off the showroom. But there were some little gremlins that came with that, I think it's safe to say, when you try and adapt it to racing. And this car is supposed to be a step towards a more purebred racing car, but still within the GT4 performance envelope.
You can see basically got punched there in the door and split one of those coolers, unfortunately. Curious to know what sort of supply they have with parts to get that car in ship shape for tomorrow.
That's a good question. New car.
Well, you can ask one of your buddies. No one else is running one, so.
That's true. So you gotta hope there's some spares available. Hate to not get a chance to see Jeroen Bleekemolen.
I understand the Haas Automotive truck is in the paddock. That's the customer support system for that, so maybe they'll have everything they need.
It's true, I did see that. That would be the Carl Haas, not the Gene Haas, or the Haas RT Haas, which is another GT team that has popped up in recent, well, really this year, just adding to the confusion. cleanup looks like it's about complete. Get to see how Jesse Webb handles another restart. He has been really strong. Now, that said, we should note timing and scoring has been going through some ups and downs today, so there's a chance that it might still be Mackay Stevens. We'd love to get that clarified. This is Gray Newell, though, in the Heart of Racing car. I believe that was the car that came up behind. Sent Tim around and just nowhere to go. Boy, that is disappointing for the Vanderstur Racing team, which is new to this series, not new to racing in North America. Had a bit of a reboot, running touring cars elsewhere last year, and now running some Astons in multiple GT4 championships. Waiting to see if the lights go out on the safety car. Just how close are we to a restart? There was quite a bit of fluid. There's still a car
it's
that
going
needs
to be
to
a
be
while.
retrieved. So
I think
never
they're going to
mind.
have to delay the pit lane opening for the mandatory stop as well, looking at the clock.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The mandatory pit window for those driver changes is between 34 minutes 59 seconds to go in the race and 25 minutes to go in the race. However, that changes if the pit window opening happens to coincide with an active safety car period.
Yeah, they won't do that during this time, so they'll wait for the green and then they'll open it at the earliest opportunity, probably one lap later. And the minimum stop time, or time on pit lane, should I say, is 92 seconds. It was 87 for Fanatec GT, 5 additional seconds for these GT4 programs.
Did get confirmation from several sources that it is Jesse Webb who qualified for this race and is starting for Conquest Racing. So thank you to those who passed that information along. You can see we're getting closer to that window. Those second drivers, they're going to have to be ready. By regulation in Pirelli GT4 America, in race 1 of the weekend, in the Pro-Am cars, it is the less experienced, the Am, if you will, in the Pro-Am lineup that starts the race and gives way to the pros. We're going to see some heavy hitters jumping aboard some fast race cars here for the first time in 2023. You still see some remnants of that incident, that debris there that will need to be attended to before this race can resume, and still the cleanup on the Vanderstur car.
Yeah, I think we're could be a good solid 5 minutes at least before we get back to green here. A long day. Marshals are doing a great job trying to get the cleanup done as effectively but safely as we can. See another car off to the right-hand side through that cutoff, but that's not a problem there.
That can be taken care of promptly. It's a good look at the drag strip here at Sonoma, making Amanda feel right at home. It's a great motorsports facility with a lengthy history. Sonoma Raceway goes back to 1968. The first race ever held here was an SCCA Enduro, December 1st of 1968. For many, many years, and I think you still talk to some people and that they'll still call it Sears Point because that was the name for decades. It earned that name because on this site in the early 1900s was the old Sears Point farm. It has since gone by the wayside, but lent its name to this plot of land. And it's gone through a couple name changes since then, but has settled on Sonoma Raceway for a few years now.
There's Jason Hart, geared up, suited and booted, ready to go. You'd have to think that with the Pro-Am lineups, they'd be getting the AMs out pretty quickly and maximizing the Pro time.
Yes. Jason Hart is actually a back-to-back Pro-Am champion in Pirelli GT4 America. We talked earlier about the fact he's reunited with Matt Travis. They won the title together in 2021, but he and Scott Noble won last year, picking up 2 wins, 6 podiums, and a pole along the way, and helped NOLA Sport to the Teams Championship and Porsche to the Manufacturers Championship here in Pirelli GT4 America. So let's recap the last 4 years in this series for Jason Hart. Second, first. Hard to beat that.
Yeah.
And both of those seconds could easily have been
Yeah,
championships.
he could have been going for 5 straight.
Yes.
And that's not an exaggeration. They were so close on those previous years.
His talent has been recognized in recent years too. He drove a Ferrari for JMW at Le Mans last year. He drove at the 24 Hours of Dubai this year for with some drivers that we've seen in other races this weekend. Elliott Skier and Adam Adelson, who won their class in Fanatec GT, and Seth Lucas, who raced in Fanatec GT, along with Jason Hart. They finished second in their Pro-Am class at Dubai earlier this year. He's getting some big calls to jump in some major programs. Also
well,
running.
deservedly so. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, he's been up against some really get the job done against the best in the business. So let's give him a shot at something.
Absolutely deserved. Busy program for Jason this year. In addition to this, he's running Carrera Cup for the MDK team, running the endurance races in IMSA. As mentioned, had that run at Dubai earlier in the year. So, yeah, absolutely a man who, on the back of the performance in recent years now, has been recognized as for the talent that he possesses, and the opportunities are starting to appear because of it. Definitely into that pit window, so the scenario that Calvin laid out for us earlier, that appears to be in play. Soon as this cleanup is complete and the race gets restarted, one time around, and then the pit lane opens, and I expect it to be a busy place. Again, no tire changes in Pirelli GT4 America, and because of that, normally one of the talking points for driver one is you got to take care of the tires, you've got to give your second driver something to work with. Because of the extended safety car period, however, don't think that's going to be so much of an issue,
no.
And that could make for some really interesting stuff late in the going.
And I don't think they'll need to bleed tires much. Sometimes you can adjust the tires have to stay on, but you can adjust the tire pressures, bleed them down, but they're not going to be that high running around behind the safety car like this. So it's really all about the driver change and just execution, just the timing of the release of the car is what it's all about. And getting as close to that minimum stop time as you can. There's, as we said earlier, 92 seconds is the time from pit in to pit out, including the stop.
Back down to the pit lane where Amanda has caught up with Jason Hart.
You guys talking about the Matt Travis return. We've been talking about the success that you've been having in the Pirelli GT4, but you and Matt back together. I know we're all on pins and needles waiting for the movie lines that might be thrown at us this year, but just you guys being back together, how comfortable is that?
Yeah, I'm really pumped to be back with Matt and Nola Sport and the Porsche Cayman. We always have a good time, so we're starting off pretty strong. We like that. We'll see if we can carry it through the season.
Just planning your stint ahead. The weather's changing. The sun's going down. Is there any noticeable differences that you'll see in the car this afternoon?
We might have to turn the oven up a little bit so I can make it to the finish, but other than that, we'll just bring her home.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Haven't missed a beat, have they? Right back in mid-season form.
Yep.
With the interviews as well as the driving. Matt Travis, who my predecessor, Greg Kramer, coined the term the world's fastest accountant. Right back in his happy place. He did some racing away from this championship last year, but when I bumped into him earlier this weekend, just the biggest smile on his face. And he said, Ryan, this feels like home. I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah. There you see the cleanup. That's the fluid that was coming from the back end of that McLaren after Tim got attacked there on the approach to the carousel.
Track sweeper there trying to disperse some of the speedy dry that's there to soak up the moisture when it gets dropped. A couple of vehicles actually have been tasked with that duty.
It's never a great feel when you come through a corner like that and you have to run over that speedy dry.
Yeah.
You hope that the crew had done their job, but yeah, pretty on pins and needles when you drive through there at speed for the first time.
Did it ever go wrong for you?
Never did, but it was always in the back of your mind. Like you always left a little bit of margin, unless it was like the very end of the race, and it's all everything in, all chips on the table. But
is it one of the rare occasions you'd rather be the second guy through?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Certainly, you're getting a read, a little twitch from the car in front, you can immediately react to that.
Well, it looks like we are resigned to another lap behind the safety car. The lights are not out. Try to have it out by this point on the track if at all possible, if a restart is imminent, and it doesn't look like that's the case. You see the drivers, though, weaving back and forth. That's usually a sign, and they've got a great look at it. Every time they go around, they can see the progress that's made. They must feel like they're getting close. They're prepping those tires, prepping those brakes to go back to green.
Be curious to see once it opens if everyone dies, or if anyone rolls the dice thinking, you know what, I could come in a lap later, a little cleaner pit in and out, won't be boxed in potentially. Might be something to work with there.
Certainly something to think about, and your pace should still be all right. Shouldn't be too much wear on the tires.
Or it can backfire, of course, as if it should go yellow again immediately, then you're really on the back foot because you haven't made your stop.
And that is the risk you take. But it might be that chance to try and, I mean, especially if you're in the middle of the pack.
Yes.
You don't think
you're not going to win today, let's roll the dice, see if something and just a bit of luck will come our way.
And it might give you a chance to have a clear lap to run on. Put in an in lap that's quicker than anybody's going to do in a pack when they leave the pits, and that could give you a chance to leapfrog, gain a few positions. Cleanup continuing, multi-car incidents here at Sonoma Raceway. A couple of cars involved, including Tim Pappas, as well as Brady Behrman. Those cars out of the race in a very early stage. A few others, Kyle Washington, Daniel Hanley, Peter Atwater, and Todd Coleman. They were caught up in the first full course yellow of the day. Everyone given that speedy dry a very wide berth. I thought maybe there would be reason to try and run through it here during the safety car, try and disperse that a little bit, but they think otherwise. Maybe you don't want to pick that stuff up on the hot Pirelli tires, especially if you think a restart is imminent.
Yeah. And I tell you what, keeping it clean on pit lane with this many cars coming in all together is going to be a feat. You know, just releasing the cars and suddenly jumping out into the transition lane. That'll be something to keep our eye on here with so many cars potentially going to be like line of stern coming in. Normally it's kind of spread out a little bit, you got some gaps, but if we have 40 cars coming in at the same time, it'll be a bit chaotic.
And that's true, and it is a tight pit lane at Sonoma. It's got a curve in it as well, about at the midway point, so that's something extra to try and navigate. We'll see how soon that comes into view, because the lights are out on the safety car. It won't be this lap, but it will be the next, that the pit lane will be open for the mandatory pit stop. And for the second time, it will be the newcomer Jesse Webb leading the field to green into the VP Racing acceleration zone.
Key is if this lap stays green as well.
True.
Gonna have a big stack up here as we crest the hill like we've done here a couple of times already today.
Here we go around the hairpin of turn number 11. Webb in the Conquest Racing Mercedes. Matt Travis in the Nola Sport Porsche. 1 and 2 leaders in their respective classes. There's the green flag as Webb leads them back up the hill.
Yeah, and different in the rules this year, you're allowed to pass immediately. You don't have to wait for the stripe on restarts like we did last year, so you're going to see some action a little bit earlier in the going here this season.
It's been a clean restart to this point, but we've said that before. This is the highest point in elevation on the track, the top of turn 3A. Then they plunge down the hill on this right-hander. Little bit of a climb coming up here through turn 5, but then right back down the hill with that fast left-handed carousel turn 6.
Look at Webb, he's just taken off once again. Travis trying to stay with him, move to the inside there. There's the 51 of Zach Anderson running through that speedy dry and loses control. Didn't have the grip there. Little bobble there, almost into the side of the Porsche.
Yeah, he was the first one to be brave enough to try it, and it almost worked for him, but you saw the snap, and that's left him vulnerable Chris Walsh was taking a peek to the outside. Last we saw them come through. This is an interesting gaggle of cars a little bit further back, just inside the top 10.
Elias Sabo aboard there, the Flying Lizard group coming off a brilliant 2022 campaign. Talking to that group this weekend, Elias very much up on the wheel. Andy Lee, they said, is even more focused than normal. We should have a strong season. This is their home track, of course, for Flying Lizard Motorsport. The window is open, so we should see some activity immediately here. You got silver lineup. You might like to stay out a little bit, take advantage of a relatively clear racetrack, but in the Pro-Am entries, you're going to see a lot of action on pit lane.
A lot of takers, but by no means is it the entire field. So that could shake some things up. Webb has scooted away, though.
Yeah.
The lead is 2.7 seconds. Zach Anderson runs in second.
Yeah, and he could be out there another 10 minutes. There
Sure.
might only be 13 more. By the time you do your pit stop, theoretically, you could only have about 11, 12 minutes left when the second driver gets released from pit lane. So it's getting tight here, but it can backfire if there's another interruption during this pit stop window.
Crucial time, that's for sure. These cars that are staying out there gambling, one, that there won't be a yellow, and two, that their pace outside of the traffic will be good enough to help them make some gains on their competition that are coming in to put the pros in the Pro-Am lineups in right away.
The second of the Conquest Racing machines is in. There's Toledo jumping in. Kakaski should be jumping into this machine. This is all routine. There is no panic here. There's plenty of time. Just go through the orchestration of a nice, calm pit stop. And the team will be looking at the stopwatch, knowing when to release the car. There's also some software systems now where the driver can actually read coming down pit lane to ensure that they're not underneath the minimum.
Travis and Hart, that was the exchange we were watching. Those are two guys that have done this. They've been through it together many times. They've been released, and Noah Sport will lead the train out of the pit lane. Kenton Cook aboard the Random Vandals BMW. CrowdStrike livery on that machine. Looked like he had to give way because there was some overlap exiting the pits. This is Kenton Cook here in the number 92, right behind the 74 from the Skip Barber Racing School stable. Although actually I think that's the Copeland team that is running a Skip Barber spare car here this weekend because of a big crash, if I'm not mistaken. So that could lead to a little bit of confusion.
There's Webb on pit lane now, so our overall leader is in. Conquest Racing number 34, Mercedes. Mackay Stevens going to get his first action in the race of 2023.
Kai Stevens is fast. There is no question about that. Former Team USA scholarship winner. Since he's been plugged into this program with Conquest, he has been an absolute standout performer. About the only guy who could take the fight to the RS1 duo in the silver class last year.
This outlap is so important here for Jason Hart. He's got hammered down. How does this outlap compare to Jesse Webb's in-lap? They're still bleeding those tires down a little bit, so they'd overpressured a little bit. That's pretty normal. He did have that one hot lap, so he'd have a little bit more true reading for that group versus these guys who came in almost immediately once we went back to green.
We're watching this because these were the top two cars overall as the pit window opened.
It's going to be close.
Yep.
It's going to be real close.
Here comes Hart out of 11. Left-handed bend of turn 12. We'll see, where is he? The Conquest car just got released.
He's going to get him.
Here comes Hart. Yes. Job done.
Wow.
NOLA Sport executing in the pit lane, and they lead not just in Pro-Am, but overall.
Monster outlap there. I'm not sure if there's any difference between the two pit stops that created that overlap there, but certainly change of position after that pit stop exchange. So Jason Hart, bit between his teeth. Let's look and see how close this was. Mackay Stevens releases it from 50 kilometers an hour. Nothing he could do about it. Outlap was so important. You know that Jason Hart knew exactly. He didn't need to be reminded. He knew how important that was. He and Matt Travers are so astute, so smart. They read a race. They know. They're so calculating exactly what they need to do in that situation.
The good news, again, is it's not a class battle. Talking Pro-Am and Silver. So this does not affect them in the championship. Early days in the championship, of course, but everyone's counting points, no question. Stevens looking to get to grips with his car, and it's an interesting situation for the second driver because you're hopping into a car that's had some laps on its tires. These are not fresh tires, but you don't know what it's going to feel like. You've probably never driven the car quite like this on tires this exact age before, and you've got to adapt very quickly.
That's where the experience comes in. So some of these new combinations, they're going through those motions for the very first time. But for Jason Hart, Matt Travis's old hat, right? They know exactly what you're going to expect. They know the second stint is you're going to suffer a little bit. You're not going to have the sweetness of the tires left there. And as you said, managing that for the first half was certainly eased by the fact that we had so much yellow there in the first half of the race.
It's aggressive. Not sure if that's Anderson Tenodo or if there's been a change, but that move was made on Al Carter, the second of the two random vandals car. STR 38 is the team behind. This is a ST Racing affiliated operation, run out of slightly different location. This team debuted at Indy last year, and a nice move there from Chris Allen in the 438.
Yeah, sharing that car with Robert Mauer. That's a great shot climbing the hill there.
Some idea for just how rapid a GT4 at speed is and how on the limit of adhesion these cars are seemingly all the time. Battles raging all throughout this field.
Robusto in the mixes as well. Not sure if she's been in pit lane yet to do her unique pit stop.
Such a cool story. Isabella Robusto, that's the purple accented Supra going around the outside of the Aaron Povolato. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's the wrong team. Never mind. A great move from Isabella, who has a short track racing background. If you've been watching NASCAR at all this year, and you've seen the Toyota Female Driver Initiative commercial, she's one of the drivers featured in that. It's a really cool history in short track racing. Finished third in the South Carolina 400 last year. Very prestigious late model race. First driver ever to finish on the podium in the history of that event. And one of the drivers she beat was Dale Earnhardt Jr. All right.
Feather in your cap.
For sure. Drove from 30th to 3rd in that race, by the way.
Knowing Dale, he probably went up and shook a hand. He's a real gent and a great racer at the same time.
It'll be fun to watch her development throughout the year. Very new to road racing, but a real talent in the circle track world. Overall leader continues to be Jason Hart, who's taken over for Matt Travis in the Sonoma Sport Porsche Cayman. Just behind Mackay Stevens, John Capestro Dubets lurking in the third spot in that BMW that Zach Anderson started. JCD is a rapid driver.
He's the real deal.
Yep.
He's got tremendous speed, great talent, and he's another one like Jason Hart who we're finally recognizing what sort of speed he has on a consistent basis. So that's what's cool about you see a lot of, call them superstars in our sport, come and compete in this championship. And then it really highlights some of the regulars who you think, yeah, they're good, but how good are they? And then it really puts it all into perspective.
I think it's exactly that got drivers like Jason Hart the kind of attention we talked about earlier. Oh, you can run up against Bill Auberlen. You can beat Bill Auberlen, for example, among other many strong examples. Well, all right, we'll give you a shot in our GT3 car and we'll repay you in kind. This is Dubets in the Auto Technic BMW.
He's got some heat behind, not for class position.
Yep.
It's Kai Van Berlo, young superstar. We're going to hear a lot about this young man. Been running in a lot of the Porsche single-seater single-make championships, excuse me, but an amazing talent.
Definitely is. Originally hails from the Netherlands, but attending university at the University of Miami in Florida, wrapping up his degree this year, as a matter of fact, in addition to being incredibly quick.
There's Clay aboard the leading car. I believe they're still leading. Charlie Postins did a great job on the opening stint, trying to follow up on their success of last year. What a season they put together.
Oh, yeah.
The championship early, 7 wins on the year. They won round 1 here last year and had a runner-up finish on the second day. So been doing a little bit of testing and running with the new BMW M4. James said, yeah, we like it a lot, but it's still early days, but he felt confident that they had most of the bugs worked out and had a handle on the setup as well.
The car chasing for AM-class honors is not too far behind. That's Paolo Karkoski, who is a real veteran in his own right. And he is just a few cars back. It's this Mercedes right here.
Brazilian ace.
Yes.
When he was running Formula Fords over in the UK many moons ago. He's got real speed, and that team came close to victory last year on a couple of occasions.
Yes.
Had some heartbreakers.
Back alongside Custodio Toledo, who he has been coaching for some time. Had been in the coaching game for many, many years, out of a competitive race seat since 1996. Until last year. He made 1 Indy Light start, did Karkoski, in '96. No pro starts between that and showing up here 1 year ago in 2022. So a bit of a layoff, but he showed that he still had the speed over the course of the season last year. This is Kenton Cook here. Car started by Kevin Boehm, a champion in 2 different touring car categories, and a cool partnership between Kenton and Kevin. CrowdStrike involved again, as that they have been with Kevin Boehm's programs in recent years, and Random Vandal stepping up to field the car.
It's a great combination of how all of the ingredients came together. Paul Sparta from Random Vandal was looking to really up the program and get a really strong driver pairing together. Kevin Boehm with the CrowdStrike support, coming off 2 TC championships. Kenton Cook, the B Sport program went away. Brian Potter's not competing this year. He was keen to find Kenton a home. I believe he was close to Paul Sparta, and they got in conversation and it all came together. And I think they're going to have a lot of success this year. Kevin Boehm is a very smart driver, very quick driver, and I think Kenton's going to take him to the next level.
The deal came together late, though. They started talking in January, and things went cold for a couple of months, is what I was told. But then when it started to work, it all came together in a flash. Funny how that works. And what I was told that the contract was still drying. The ink on the contract was still drying when they hopped in the car for the first time at the preseason test at NOLA.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. And right now, Kenton Cook is chasing Andrew Davis. We should, since we're having some timing and scoring snafus, set the order for you. It's Jason Hart leading overall and in Pro-Am. Then you've got the Conquest Racing car, Mackay Stevens in second. Van Berlo runs third. Then Dubetz, Davis, and Cook, which is the battle we're looking at right here. Let's go down to the pits in Amanda.
Standing by with Kevin Boehm, who's still, I'm sure, in his mind reflecting on the day that has been. You said this weekend was going to be all about learning for you in this new format. We know that your mind is methodical. We know you like looking at data, but as you replay your stint here, what's flowing through your mind right now?
Well, I'm really glad that we were able to, for one, hang with the leaders, and then we was able to grab a couple of positions before we kind of brought the car in to give it to Kenton. So, I mean, really, we're looking forward. The goal is always the podium as often as we can, and it would be bittersweet if we could this weekend first try right off the bat, but I think so far it's just trying to learn everything about this new class, the new car. It's just, it would be easier to describe the similarities between TC and GT4 than to try to describe all the differences, because there's so many. So I've still got a long learning curve ahead of me.
He'll learn quick, though. I'll tell you what, he's got a great group that he's put together. Kenton Cook is one of those guys. He's like Spencer Pumpelly and Andrew Davis. I mean, they could just be the backbone of your organization for many moons to come.
Right now, Kenton is getting the job done on the racetrack, trying to cross over Andrew Davis. This is for the final podium step in the silver class. The leader in silver is Mackay Stevens, the Conquest Racing Mercedes, but second right now would be Davis. I'm sorry, that would be third right now is Davis behind Dubets. And a good battle behind them here too, with Aaron Povolato scrapping with Andy Lee.
Yeah, Lee is up on the wheel here. This is going to be a bit tight as they climb the hill there. Aaron wisely just gave him half a lane, but didn't overdrive the corner, maintains the position, so using his experience and speed to deal with that. Whereas Povolato Racing really been focused on the details in the off-season. They invested a lot in getting the right setup equipment and trying to make the car consistent every time they put the car on the racetrack. We had a good chat with Aaron at St. Petersburg, where Ross ran in GTA a few weeks ago, and he just said, yeah, we've been really focusing on the details. We've had speed on occasion, and he said we just realized towards the end of the year, and what a season finale they put together. Yep. With Schwess sweeping both GTA races there in the championship ultimately, and they also had a GT4 victory there at Indy, so that was really great momentum builder for them for this season.
It was, and it did convince them to double down on that investment. Went to the shaker rig in the off-season and then did a head-to-head test on track with what they learned on the shaker rig based on and up against setups they ran last year. And Aaron Povolato said, yeah, that was worth about 0.7 of a second. That is a real gain, so they were really pleased that the investment paid off with outright pace.
Yeah, 0.7 is a monster amount. It doesn't sound like much if you don't are not fully immersed in racing, but that is night and day difference if you can find those sort of advantages and gains.
Up at the front, here is your overall leader with just under 8 minutes to go. Second place, I'm sorry, leader in silver, Mackay Stevens, native of the Chicago suburbs. Dropping back, here's Kai Van Berlo. He is second in Pro-Am.
Berlo's digging deep. He's running lap times a half second quicker than our leader right now, and he's only, 5 seconds back, so it's running out of time, but fastest amongst those 3 leaders right now is Kai Van Berlo, number 7 car, and second in Pro-Am.
It's the car that he shares, by the way, with Kurt Swearingen. So a nice opening stint from Kurt, kept the car clean, and knew he had an ace to hand it to.
There's some fluid down on the racetrack, it looked like there. That looked like fresh stuff. You see that coming up, whipping up as he drove through? There's like a dark line, but.
Yes. Mackay will be quick to let the team know if he did encounter something like that.
My eyes would deceive me, but for sure it looked like there was some fluid peeling up from the car when he drove through the line there on the carousel.
6.5 minutes left in the first race of the Pirelli GT4 America season. Back down to the pits in Amanda.
John Jesbury is currently running P3 in the silver class, and last year it was, I think, 6 podiums for you guys. Also got a win on the season, looking to open up with the podium as well this year. You guys won the AM Championship in 21. Any kind of goals between you and John this season?
For sure, John has done an incredible job starting in the AM class, working up to silver. We actually switched it up to Pro-Am this year. We wanted to be in the biggest class and put John up against a lot of the other gold and silver drivers. He's doing a heck of a job, and every guy and girl on the Smooth Racing team has given us an incredible new Super GT4 Evo. First race with the Evo, and it's proving to be pretty fast.
Talk about guy and girl. Isabella, very busy here this weekend. Talk just about the expansion within Smooth Racing.
We're really excited to expand into the new Toyota GR Cup Series. It's an incredible new championship to give young drivers a start and maybe old drivers a second chance, but it's a really cool series that we're excited to be a part of. Isabella is a Toyota development driver alongside John, so the rivalry's been a lot of fun, giving each other a hard time back and forth as Isabella comes up to speed in the new Supra and also learning the new GR86 here at Sonoma.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
That's right, it is the updated version of the Supra. Updates include improved brake system, the different dampers on the car, update to the engine as well, with a focus on optimizing the torque curve and also looking to help with cooling, which doesn't help here this weekend. It's pretty cool in Northern California, but when we get to the dog days of summer, we've seen it. Some of these GT4 cars have struggled historically with hot temperatures, and there has been a concerted effort across multiple manufacturers to improve the cooling, and it's made a difference.
Yeah, big time. I think also they want to make that Super a little less edgy so the AM drivers could deal with its handling a little bit better, but John Jesbury is going to have a big fight to hold on to that podium. He's got Aaron Povolato and Andy Lee right on his tail now.
That's kind of what Kevin was talking about there. Let's put John, who had typically been the second driver with Kevin in past years, so he was up against less
he's in
experience.
wide. He got in a little bit deep.
Yep.
His mirrors were full there, and probably going to the ABS there, just activated that, and then you're just along for the ride. So slips back a couple of positions right there.
But now this is a chance for John to test himself up against some of these top GT4 drivers. And yeah, there you saw, I think in the background, just, well,
Kenton Cook gets around
yes,
Andrew Davis
that's
as well.
what it was. Yeah. That puts Kenton Cook onto the podium in Pirelli GT4 America silver class. Kai Van Berlo, I think, has passed Mackay Stevens. That's not for class position. At the line, it was 22 thousandths of a second.
Yeah,
so
it probably just happened.
yeah, and he might not have completed it either. That is neck and neck at
Yeah.
the stripe, so we'll have to check in on them.
And he sits 3 seconds back now. I think he is through.
Yes.
I think I saw the green
Yes.
Porsche fly through the carousel there. So he's 3 seconds back with no cars between he and Jason Hart. But you'd have to think that Jason Hart's got this one under control with just over 3 minutes to go.
That guy's been quick. He was 0.6 of a second quicker than Jason on the last lap. And that presumably was trying to find a way past Stevens. But that said, time is running out, under 3 minutes to go, and the gap is just over 3 seconds back from Hart to where Van Berlo runs right here.
Yeah, and Stevens is just such a smart driver. I mean, he's a very intelligent guy and great with the setups. Literally, I sometimes wonder with someone like that, they think about it too much at times, but nonetheless, that's the way he's built.
Penalty issued to the 51, John Capestro Dubets. It's going to be a post-race time penalty for a short pit stop. And one of the rule changes this year, gone is that 1 second joker that you could use on one of the two races. And now there are two different penalties for being under that minimum. And you could probably explain it better than I can.
Well, basically, if it's less than 1 second, they're going to multiply the advantage that you got by 5. So they've got a 2.82 second penalty to be applied. So they were just over half a second shy of their minimum stop time. If it's over 1 second, it's a drive-through.
Yeah, plug that into the calculator, and Cal's exactly right. 0.56 and change is what they were under. So those are the fine margins. That would have been perfectly fine last year. That would have been the joker, but the rule has changed. And so, as a consequence then, how much does Kenton Cook fight to make this pass? Because he is currently in a position where, with that penalty, the adjusted time would give Kenton that second spot.
Yeah, it would. Andrew Davis, he's going to be interested because it's right about the same number. He sits, let's have a look here at the gaps. He's about 8 tenths back, so he should take advantage of that 2.5 second penalty as well and move up a spot. Berlo's certainly on the attack, though. We're looking at him right here. Last time across the stripe, he was 3 seconds back for the overall lead and class lead, so Van Berlo's going to keep digging deep, hoping that Jason Hart makes a rear mistake, but I'd say that's unlikely.
Jason has responded since Kai made the pass. The two ran nearly identical lap times after it had been advantage Kai for the previous few laps. Here is Jason, white flag in the opening race of the season. He leads overall and in Pro-Am. The gap back to second place Kai Van Berlo did come down. It's only 2.6 seconds now.
Yeah, Jason will just manage this, though. We'll see any traffic up ahead. Kai's not going to give up, though. Any little bobble here by Jason Hart's going to get pretty tight, but you know, he's got so much experience. His team's talking him through it. Just great outlap that he put together, great execution on the pit stop.
John Jesbray had a rough lap. He dropped a couple of spots, now runs 10th overall. Look at this gaggle of cars. Isabella Robusto leads this group in the number 67. She is currently just off the podium in the AM class, but boy, right behind her, there are a number of hungry drivers looking for one final spot here before the end of this race.
Yeah, all the chips are in now. But let's not forget, doubleheader weekends, you got to think about tomorrow, not risk your race car. Don't take too big a risk here just for one position.
Jason Hart, reigning back-to-back Pro-Am champion in Pirelli GT4 America, but he has caught traffic.
Up here.
This is into that slow chicane. Could this bring Kai Van Berlo close enough to at least make it interesting for a drag race to the checkered flag?
This will raise your heart rate a little bit if you're Jason Hart and the team watching this.
Moves to the inside and puts a lap on the 09. Jason Hart through turn 11 one last time. He's won the last 2 championships in the Pro-Am class. He's reunited with Matt Travis, and he wins the season opener at Sonoma Raceway. Jason Hart, Matt Travis, and Nola Sport back in victory lane. And in the silver class, 3rd overall, Conquest Racing gets their championship bid off to a perfect start. Jesse Webb in his season and series debut, and Mackay Stevens bring it home. 3rd overall, but good enough for the class win.
Look at this. Conquest Racing going to get 2 victories here today. This is the leader in AM.
Exactly right. Custodio Toledo started this race. Paolo Karkoski will try to finish it. Here's a dive around the outside. Not sure that's actually for position, so let's go back up. Yep, to this fight here. And for the win in the AM class, it goes to Conquest Racing. 2 wins in 2 different classes. They get the job done in AM with Custodio Toledo breaking through alongside Paolo Karkoski.
That's awesome. That's a great story. There'll be some emotion there.
They were so close in Indy last year. It looked like it was in the bag. It all went wrong on the white flag lap of, I think, the last race of the season.
Well, we expected surprises, but you'd have to say that it's no surprise to see these guys at the top, and no surprise to see Conquest Racing in the silver class with Mackay Stevens. Admittedly, a lot of unknown about his new teammate, but boy, did he perform from the pole. Jesse Webb.
Yeah.
That team did not miss a beat.
He was quick and in control. The moment was certainly not too big for him. And then Mackay Stevens, as we've grown accustomed to, very smart, didn't race too hard with Kai Van Berlo for 2nd overall because he was not for class position. And they will start the season with a victory. For Van Berlo and ACI, this is ACI's first weekend in SRO America. They had a podium in Fanatec GT earlier with Pompelli and Torres in the 911 GT3R, and a podium here in Pirelli GT4 America. Not bad at all.
That's really impressive. Top-notch organization, and that's a big step to deliver at this level of competition. Is really, really cool. Got some good drivers in that lineup, though. Kai Van Berlo in this car, and Spencer Pompelli did an excellent job earlier today.
A lot of good drivers in the paddock this weekend, and many of them race here in Pirelli GT4 America. We do it again tomorrow, but the difference is the pros will start and the AMs will finish. And boy, oh boy, that gets spicy, as history has told us.
Well, the pros put on a heck of a show, and sometimes there's a bigger delta between the AM drivers in terms of, so you see some gaps that are suddenly dwindling there as we get towards the checkered flag. So don't keep your eye off the ball. There could be some big changes towards the end of the race tomorrow.
And as far as I know, talking about season openers here, right? So frequently the pit crews, they're still trying to get into their rhythm. As far as I know, there was only 1 pit lane penalty in this race today. That is remarkable. These crews showed up ready to go. The classic Talladega Nights livery on the Matt Travis, Jason Hart Porsche is back. Great to see the Cougar riding along on that Porsche Cayman. Here we go. Provisional results for race number 1. Pro-Am, 1st and 2nd. Hart and Travis, Swearingen, and Van Berlo. Then you get to the top 3 in silver, all running relatively well. 2nd and 3rd running close together, with Stevens and Webb taking the win. Bohm and Cook come home in the 2nd spot. Seldorf and Davis 3rd, and that penalty for the Auto Technic team was costly. That dropped them quite a ways down the overall order and off the podium in silver with the Duvets and Anderson BMW. Winners in the AM class, Conquest Racing, but not too far behind. You find Karis Kallis, then down to 3rd. That's the top car on this sheet. in the AM class, Postins and Clay. They begin their championship defense with the podium in the first race of the season. Robusto driving solo. Joey Da Silva could not go here today. Her first sports car race outside of the GR Cup race, I guess, earlier today. Her first day of sports car racing, we'll say it that way. Finishes just off the podium for smooth racing. Really well done. And you've got Conright and Tenoto in the Pro-Am class, and on down we go. It is a huge field here this year. And then we get to the teams that have some work to do overnight. Certainly Black Swan, certainly Vanderster. Those two cars came with some pretty serious damage. And then further down, some cars that didn't even complete a lap today with that first full course yellow.
Yeah, hopefully we can see those cars back in action. There's some damage that's got to be fixed. It'll be a late nighter for some of these crews.
Let's hear from our winners.
Well, Matt Travis and Jason Hart here in the winner's circle, and I was listening to Ryan, and you told him earlier this weekend that it felt like you were back home. Well, I think you just busted in through the front door. Being back in this paddock, how satisfying is this win?
Oh, it's fantastic. You know, we're happy to be back. To win the first one's huge. In the past, we've had a two-step program, you know, shake it and bake it. Going forward, it's a three-step program. The first step is cut a hole in a box. The second two steps I'm not going to disclose for competitive reasons, but we'll get to them later in the season. It's going to be exciting.
Well, Jason, as we look ahead, and we're going to see what the competition's going to shake out this season, and I'm not even sure if I should just go ahead and hand you the mic and let you tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was really going to regret being a gynecologist, but this pro race car deal is working out great. So I'm pretty happy to be here with Matt Travis and Noah Sport and Porsche and all the guys. And we're off to a good start. We see if we can keep it going.
Gynecologist and the world's fastest accountant. What a duo.
You never know what to expect with these two. They're a bundle of laughs, though, that's for sure, but they're serious when the visor comes down, and their track record shows it. More often than not, it seems like when they're paired together, they end up in victory lane.
They do, and they're having fun doing it, and that can make a difference because it can become quite stressful, a lot of pressure, and if you have that humor, it can certainly cut the ice a little bit.
Got some more winners to hear from, Amanda.
Well, I don't think we're going to get the smile off of Jesse Webb anytime soon. There's nothing like a first-time win, especially in a debut race and in a new season. And Mackay was telling me earlier just how impressed he is with you. And this moment, what will be the leading emotion for you?
Oh, I mean, it's an absolute joyful experience. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better start to the season for us. I mean, and Mackay, like, it's awesome having this guy as a teammate. I was very happy to hear I was going to have him. And, yeah, so, you know, enjoy the moment now, but we head down and we're going to crack on for tomorrow.
You talk about head down, Mackay. I watch you on pit lane, and you're always just focused, you're stoic, you're ready to go. Where are your sights set this season?
On the best possible result that we can achieve. We have all the tools in the making right here, and you know, on behalf of Jesse's warm welcome to the team, it's a beautiful way to start it off. But obviously credit to Mr. John Farrow, Eric Bachelor, Ian Willis, Richard Reeder, the whole 9 yards. The list goes on and on. We just really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Interesting to compare and contrast the two interviews. Both outlooks produce results. We've seen that, but it is a very business-like outlook, certainly from Mackay, and I think it's rubbing off on Jesse a little.
Yeah, there's different ways to do it, and but we can see both those groups very successful, following up on previous success. So there's been some movement. RS1 have moved out of this category, so it's opening the door for Conquest, I think, a little bit more. McAleer and Filgaris was just so tough last year with 11 victories to even get a sniff at the championship trophy, but that's different this year, of course.
It is, and it's a deeper silver class this year than we saw last year. Last year, a bad day, as long as you make it to 50%, you still score, it was like 4th or 5th place points, basically. Not so much here this year. A bad day can be crippling.
It can, and that's what it's all about now, is consistency and just keep delivering top 5 podiums and grab the wins when you can.
And that is the strategy to win the championship in Pirelli GT4 America, and it's probably more true than ever. A finish between 3rd and 5th, if you can average that every weekend, you got a good chance at winning the title, but it's easier said than done with the field this deep.
It really is, and we've got a lot of winners here. Let's get down to Amanda with our final winners of the day.
And it's been a celebration here since we got over, and Conquest Racing picks up 2 wins today. And Paulo, I want to come to you first. You take it to the checkered flag. When you look at the key moments of this race, what led to this victory?
Well, a lot. First was Custodio, to give the opportunity for me to return racing after 30 years retirement. That's fantastic, amazing. The team did a great job. We have a fantastic car from Mercedes. And the whole crew work a lot. You have no idea how much they work, so it's not what is the key moment, but a lot of work behind us to get us, to bring us to this first win.
Well, Custodio, we've watched some heartbreaking moments for you, and you've been knocking on the door of your first win to finally achieve it. Just tell us about this moment for yourself.
Yeah, we've been working so hard for this. We started this project a year and a half ago, Paul and I. And it's just amazing to see this first win here with the GT4. I want to thank also the Conquest team. They did an amazing job, gave us a great car. So it is an incredible feeling.
Well done, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Fantastic. A couple of first-time winners in this championship. We saw several here across the day of racing today. You can't match the joy of a first-time winner, that's for sure.
A lot of emotion. He kept it together well. The breakdown has been so tough for those guys.
Race 1 highlights to open the 2023 season. Conquest Racing and the rookie Jesse Webb grabbing the top spot from pole position. Matt Travis slotted in to the second spot behind. It was a green start, but it didn't stay that way. A huge incident at the top of the hill took out a number of cars early. Had some contact here that brought out a full course yellow early in the going. Then we got back to green. Some great scrapping right there on the restart.
Yeah, there's some great battles throughout all of the 3 classes here today. So the wins and the podiums didn't come easy. The Harder Racing team didn't have a great day. We saw the 26 car turned earlier. And then Gray Newell involved in that one, getting into the back of Tim Pappas. The day was done for the McLaren.
This is how the overall lead was determined. Pit strategy and Nola Sport capitalized. Jason Hart swept around the outside and was never headed. He picked up the win to open the 2023 season.
Second place in the number 20 Karis Callis race team Toyota Gazoo Racing GR Supra, Nick Shanny, Harry Barscheller. And top step of the podium in the number 35 Conquest Racing Mercedes AMG, Custodio Tolino, and Paulo Conte.
I don't know, but I kind of liked it because now they won't be all in.
All right, drivers, let's see those trophies. Switch on over into those VP Racing caps for me and raise those trophies one more time. And we'll go ahead and do our little hat dance. Put on the Pirelli caps again for me if you could. And then go ahead and spray some champagne. Let's give one more big round of applause for your AM podium. All right, it's time for your silver class podiums. In third place in the number 19 ACI Motorsports Porsche 718 Cayman. Let's hear a big round of applause for Francis Seldorf and Andrew Davis. In second place in the number 92 Random Mendels Racing BMW M4, Kevin Bohm and Kenton Cook. And on the top step of the podium for Conquest Racing JMF Motorsports in the number 34 Mercedes AMG, Mackay Stevens and Jesse Webb. All right, drivers, let's see those trophies. All right, if you can go ahead and switch on over into those VP Racing caps and raise those trophies one more time. Thank you, drivers. Go ahead and put those Pirelli caps back on. And you know what to do. Spray some champagne. Let's give one more big round of applause for your silver class podium. And moving on to your Pro-Am podium, in third place in the number 50 Schwest Pomelino Racing Aston Martin Vantage, Ross Schwest and Aaron Pomelino. And in second place in the number 7 ACI Motorsports Porsche 718 Cayman, let's hear it for Kurt Swearingen and Kay Van Berlo. And on the top step of the podium and first overall, let's hear a big round of applause for the NOLA Sport number 47 drivers of Matt Travis and Jason Hart. All right, drivers, let's see those trophies. Thank you, drivers. If you can switch on over into those VP Racing caps for me and raise those trophies again. All right, drivers, one more time. Put on the Pirelli caps and spray some champagne. Let's hear one more big round of applause for your Pro-Am podium. And we've got a few more awards to give out here. First and foremost, to Kay Van Berlo, who set the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race with a time of 1:47.589. And we also want to congratulate the E-Boost hard charger of the race, which is the number 20 Karis Callis race team of Terry Borscheller and Nick Shanny, who rose an incredible 25 positions on the day.
Need a crew member?